Okay, we're live now.
Yep.
Go ahead, Prachi.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the Protix webinar. We have been, my name is Prachi. I'm from Protect, and I think you don't know me. I'm introducing myself. My name is Prachi. I'm here to help you with the webinar today. So we have here been incredible Mr. Lauchu here today for the GRC experts, and we will be commencing soon. So we are just waiting for a few more people to join. So we will just wait for 30 seconds, and then we'll be going to start.
Thank you, Prachi.
So I think we can start with the session, Alaf.
Uh, yeah, we can start. Go ahead, Prachi. So
Yeah. So
basically, just before you start, basically, the agenda of this session is to discuss questions around third-party risks. What are the types of third-party risks that we have in terms of cybersecurity? How do we mitigate them? What are the frameworks that we can adopt? So
yes,
basically, we have a third-party risk management, which is nowadays, I would say, very vital, importance in terms of today's, AI era, where we are dealing with a lot of risks. So dealing with third parties is of really utmost importance for the organization at this moment. So that's why today's session will be discussing question and answers towards what could be the questions that anyone who is managing the third party risks would have.
yes,
And Prachi would be asking those questions because Prachi is a third party expert. So she'll be asking us those questions from a third party perspective. And in between, also, whoever who is watching, you can also ask your questions in the chat session. Okay. And we'll be able to respond to your questions. Okay. So
yes,
already starting. Hi. So we are there for you. So thank you so much for joining the session, and feel free to ask questions. So this session is for you guys because the more questions you will ask, the more interactive the session will be. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, Prachi.
yeah. So basically, just we will be starting with the basic questions, which is like what exactly the third party risk management it is. So I think you should start with these things so that we can have a more questions on go on.
Right, right. So first of
Yeah.
all, yeah, very good question. First of all, let us try to understand what is third party all about, right? So any organization nowadays that we have always have, like, it's there is no exception whatsoever, have some sort of third parties, right? So these third parties could be helping you in your IT functions, these third parties could be helping you in your financial functions, these third parties could be helping you in your HR functions, these third parties could be providing you with some applications, some software, some, dependency on the third parties is there. Okay, so
Yep.
now what is a third party? First of all, let us try to understand that. Let's say I want to create a functionality inside my organization where I want to develop the security operations center as a team, right, as a function. So for that, I need to hire 10, 15 people, 10, 15, members, employees in the team, right? I have to hire a manager also, I have to hire a specialist also for that. Along with that, these are only the resources. Along with that, we need to hire softwares, we need to hire hardware, we need to hire n number of things just to establish a SOC center in the organization. Easy approach and quicker approach towards that is actually having a managed stock. So a managed stock is what? Managed service operation center is already some organization which is already providing you this capability, where they are providing you these managed services at certain cost, right? So now, instead of creating my own capability towards managing the service operation center, A quicker and viable option nowadays is because, why I'm saying viable is because nowadays a lot of competition is also there, right? When you go for any managed services, be it SOC, be it IT support, be it a vcso support, okay, any managed services which you go, there are a lot of competition in the market, because of which the rates are cheaper. So because of that, you get a very viable, costing as well, and you get the SOC in place within a matter of 1 week. Okay, so that is the beauty of getting a third party, right? So you don't have to hire people, you don't have to hire a manager, you don't have to hire a, specialist, you don't have to hire laptops, software, solar winds, and all that, Steam solutions and all that. No, you just hire a managed SOC services organization, and you're done. That's it. So
Okay.
that's the beauty of having a third party. Hope it makes sense.
Yes, right. So I have another question also for you is that why, like you have mentioned about the organization also. So I just wanted to know like why it is the most important things for for the today's organizations for the TPRM is most important for the organization.
Very good question again, Prachi. So as an organization, I can have the best tools in the world. I could have the best EDR solution. I could have the best XDR solution. I could have the best firewalls in place. I could have the best, infrastructure. Everything I have the best in terms of security from my organization. But what about third parties? Okay, that is where the entire risk lies, because we don't know what is their security posture all about. Are they maintaining their security postures or not? Are they following the risk assessment practices or not? Are they performing internal audits or not? So all these are things which make an organization, you know prone to any sort of third party risks. Okay, that is why making sure that third parties always are onboarded with a lot of due diligence, with a lot of risk assessment, is vital, right?
Okay, yeah. So we have some question also. Yeah,
Let them come, Prachi, because we'll entertain
yeah,
one by one. So yeah, first
yes,
you clear your
yeah.
questions, then we'll have them. Yeah.
Yes, so like I understood about the organization level what you have discussed now. So I wanted to ask you one more questions, which is like how does TPRM related overall the enterprise's risk management?
Very good question. Again, very good question.
Yeah.
So directly related, third party risk management is directly related to the enterprise risk management. And why? Because entire organization is having some sort of the other third parties, right? Like I mentioned, you might be
Mhm.
having a payroll vendor, right, which is
Right.
processing salaries. You might be having a IT support vendor who is supporting you in terms of your hardware support and all that. You might be having a ERP vendor also who is supporting you in the ERP infrastructure, right, like SAP, Oracle, and all that. So every function in the organization is somehow or the other already a part of the third party management. So TPRM is already a part of the enterprise risk management framework. So it's already there.
Okay, okay, I understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another question for you is that what are the common risk associated with the third parties? Like what exactly it is?
Yeah, very good question again. So most of the common questions, most of the common risks associated with third party is, improper access controls. They're not maintaining their access controls properly. Because of that, anybody or everyone can actually access your network from the third party. Okay, because their access controls are not properly managed and all that, right?
Yes.
Similarly, when you have the due diligence part, where I mentioned, having proper risk assessments and all that, if they're not doing it properly, they might be already under a cyber security attack, and you never know. But that will actually penetrate into your environment, right? So
Yes.
these are some of the very common, penetratable, risks which easily penetrate to the main organization, controller organization, from the processor organization. That's how it happens. Because processor is nobody but an extended part of the controller only, right? Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I have another question for you is that what exactly what are the difference between the third party and the fourth party?
Very good question. So let's say the SOC example which I gave, right? The SOC example where I
Hmm.
actually outsource my entire organization,
Hmm.
security operations center to a third party, right? So now in this case, this is a third party for me, for my organization, right? Now,
Okay.
let's say this ABC company, the SOC center, which is providing me services, they hire another company, XYZ, right? So they hired the XYZ company in order to support me as an organization, right? Because they want to outsource some of the functions that I am actually paying them for, right? So in that case, this particular company, would become the fourth party, because the third party can hire additional vendors on their behalf, right? But now the problem is that most of the time what happens, these third parties hire these vendors, these fourth parties, these actually, the extensions of the processors, I should say sub processors, they actually hire without informing the controller. So that is a very very bad practice, and that then introduces a lot of risks in the organization, because as a controller I have given all the work to the ABC private limited, right?
Yes.
But actually behind the scene ABC is not doing it. ABC already outsourced to the XYZ. So this is called fourth party and sub processors. Controlling these sub processors and fourth party risks is very important. Okay, one of the again most vital factors why third party breaches happen a lot. Third party related risks happen a lot. This is one of the most important risks that we need to cater to.
Okay, okay, understood. So I think I will just stop a little bit. We have some more questions on the chat.
Yeah,
So the Navneet is asking about like, yeah. So I have just flashing on that screen. So when you stay third party, we do have a vendor supporting with us, our organization, but we are also vendor to our client. So GRC is responsible for both, right? Like question mark.
exactly,
So
exactly. When we are serving ourselves as a third party to our clients, definitely we are in the scope. And when we are getting services from a third party, then also we are in the scope, definitely. So Navit, your understanding is right. And both ways we need to protect ourselves, both ways we need to make sure that we have the right infrastructure in place, we have the right assessments in place, we have the right platforms in place, we have the right frameworks in place, and we have the right compliances in place to make sure that no third party risk actually can mitigate from our organization to the either the client organization or to our vendor organization as well. So that's very important. Okay.
yeah, so we have a second question also. It is like, if my vendor is not implemented DLP uh, in organization, how they will perform my product data.
Yeah, so basically DLP is important for protection of data, but DLP is not the only control that you use for protection of data, right? So basically DLP is definitely it helps you to control the data, but actually classifying the information, making the classification of information and controlling that classified information itself is of vital importance. Whether you have DLP in place or not doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you have classified all the organizational information in the categories, in the classification tiers, then if you have DLP, it's definitely good. Even if you don't have DLP, at least you know what all information you need to protect, and according to that you can apply controls. For example, role based access controls you can apply on that information. For example, limiting the access of that particular information to certain individuals you can do. So it's not only that DLP is the only control that will protect the data. There are a number of other controls also which are there. Yeah, Prachi.
Hello. Yeah, hi. Can you hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a question from Lokesh, which is like, in fast-moving digital transformation initiative, how do you balance a rapid third-party onboarding with sufficient due diligence with the become a blocker to innovation? Like, Can you just quick answer on that?
First of all, very good question, Lokesh. This shows your thought process, and you're actually thinking in a very right direction. I should say that, because somebody who understands the entire flow of third-party life cycle would only ask this question. So, really happy for you to ask this question. So, let us now understand the third-party life cycle, because your question is actually related to that. So, what exactly is third-party life cycle, Lokesh? Let us try to understand. First process in the third party life cycle is identification and selection of the vendors, right? So we identify what all vendors do we need, and accordingly we select the vendors. For example, for the SOC example which I gave, right, the security operations center, you try to identify certain vendors, and after those identifications you say I select 3 4 vendors out of these 10 vendors which I have identified. That is the first part of the life cycle, right? Second part of the life cycle is basically performing a risk assessment and due diligence on those vendors. Because until and unless you will perform the third party risk assessment, you will not know what all risks these third party vendors have or not. Okay, that is the second part of the life cycle. After that, once you have done that, then you have assured that this vendor is good to go. Okay, that part is done. Then you go for the contract negotiation and onboarding process. Why contract negotiation is because contractual terms hold a lot of value and importance when we talk about the third party risk. Remember that. If your contractual controls on contractual clauses are not properly placed, no matter, whatever you do, there will be issues. There will be a lot of issues later on. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, contractual negotiation is also a part of the life cycle. Once you have done that, okay, as well, and your contracts are finalized, the vendor is onboarded. Okay, then you basically perform the basic integration of the vendor in terms of what all access does the vendor needs and all that, right? But after that, the most important process in the life cycle, which most of the people forget, is the ongoing monitoring and performance monitoring of the third party vendor. Okay, so this now has to be an ongoing process. It's not like you have done risk assessment when you actually onboarded the vendor and after that you are done for the next 10 years. No, 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 not like that. So here you have to implement ongoing monitoring, ongoing performance assessment for this particular vendor, and management review meetings also, so that you know what sort of risks are happening with this particular vendor or not. Okay, so periodic audit would also help in this case to make sure that your onboarding, the ongoing monitoring is working fine or not. And periodic risk assessment and periodic audit are two things you need to follow. And after that, you need to understand after a certain period of time, as per your monitoring. For example, let's say the SOC vendor, the security operations center, is not responding as per your requirement, right? So in that case you might have to terminate the clause as well. You might have to terminate the contract as well. So do you have the termination clauses in place? Do you have the termination criteria already mentioned in case of SLA breaches and all that? So all these things you need to basically have in place. Otherwise it will be a lot of issues and all. So in this case, how do you balance rapidly hiring the third parties with sufficient due diligence, is basically following this life cycle approach. If you skip any of this part of the life cycle which I have told you, and definitely if you join the course which I have, we'll actually deep dive into these life cycle phases, and we actually do hands on different types of risks and all that. But in this session, since we have limited time, I've just given you a very high level. So following this is only one thing which you can ensure, so that it does not become a blocker to the innovation. Okay, otherwise you are right. If you skip any of the parts, the third party definitely will become a, not a blocker, I would say a showstopper, because we have seen that happening. Okay, and it's a very common thing nowadays. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, Prachi.
Yes, yes. So the next question is from Bishal. He's asking about like how to build a scalable TPRM framework.
So this is what we, Bishal does. Thank you so much for asking this question. This is basically we do in the third party risk management training program that we have. We basically start from the scratch. We create the framework, we develop on the framework, we try to identify what are the different policies and procedures we need to create, what are the different types of risks and audits that we need to conduct. So this how to build a scalable TPRM framework is actually a 40-hour question. So this is actually in detail we discuss in the classroom environment. But just to give you a basic understanding, we need to follow a proper GRC approach into this. We need to understand whether we have proper governance onto the third parties or not, whether we are properly having the risk assessments and audits into place or not, and then making sure that the third party is following the compliances as well. So these three actually form a part of the framework, TPRM framework that you are referring to, right? So just to give you in a short version of the answer. But definitely the course is very long, 40 hours course is there. Once you go into the course, once you actually perform these all things, then only it will make more sense, right? Because TPRM framework is the whole life cycle what I've just discussed, right? And how to build that life cycle in any organization is the third party risk management framework what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go for the next question will from Anil. If vendor uses client provided laptops and connect networks through VPN, then there is a no risk.
If vendor uses client provided laptops and connect through VPN, then there is no
VPN,
risk.
no risk.
Yeah, so basically, it's a good approach if vendor is using the client provided laptops and connecting through VPN. Definitely, the risks are reduced. See, Anil, till now, I have been into this industry for more than 15 plus years. There is no case where I have seen that risk is zero. So risk can never be eliminated. So don't think that if you are providing the client side laptops, there will be no risk. Definitely, other types of risk would be there, right? But this is a good approach, this is a good practice that you are following, so I would highly recommend that. But don't assume that after that there will be no risk. Okay, so you keep on monitoring what are the other things that could happen after that also. Okay, what if this VPN password is shared with somebody else? Okay, or what if this VPN is not multi-factor authenticated? Then what? So you need to keep on thinking these questions. Only having VPN and third party getting the client laptop is not the end of the day. Okay, you need to keep on improvising on those things. But yeah, definitely a good approach to start with, Anil. Thank you.
Yeah, so we will go with the next one, which is he's asking about what is your perspective on organization should or must have DPRM tools? Can't we rate their risk on their basis of their SOC 2 Type 2 or ISO 227 double C triple zero one controls in space or place or mapping them with our control? In short, if not, tools how we can do risk assessment. Is there any standard approach?
Hmm, very good question, Chiranjeevi, first of all. And again, this question shows your thought process, what you are thinking right now, and your thoughts are in the right direction. This means that you understand the third party life cycle and you have a good understanding of third party risk. So, very, very good to hear that. And this question itself is a very, I would say, in depth thought question. Not somebody that a newbie would ask. So definitely, I get your thought process. And ISO 27001 is there, 27001 is there. So it's just a typo error that Chiranjeevi has done. So basically, it's ISMS 27001. Okay, so that is there. So basically, when I go for hiring for this, the security operations center, let's say, for example, or let's say for any cloud service provider for that matter, because right nowadays many companies have the cloud service providers also. So we can definitely rate the risk based upon their compliances. Okay, what all standards do they follow? If they have SOC 2 Type 2, definitely as a customer, as an end user, I am I'm getting that assurance that yes, they have proper controls in place. And similarly, if they show me ISO 27001 controls also in place and they show me the certification also, definitely it means that we are at a very good place. I can assume that definitely that is there. But now, is that the end of the story? No, that is only the first step, Chiranjeevi. Okay, and again, all these things we actually deep dive in our sessions, because in sessions we have a lot of time. And just to give you a hint, the SOC 2 reports are very lengthy. Okay, these are 80 to 100 page reports. So we need to read those reports properly. Sometimes there is, you know, in the lines there is very important information which is mentioned in terms of a control being partially effective or ineffective. So there is a slight difference between these two terms, partially ineffective and effective, or ineffective, right? But you have to be very conscious about these things, right? Because if you are not conscious about these things, what you actually see in these reports, then it will become a big problem. What are the other things that you need for to look for in the SOC 2 report? The SOC 2 report, you need to check the scope of the assessment, because it is an attestation report, right? So what was the scope of this report? Whether the service that you are opting for is actually covered in the report or not. This is the first question that you should ask yourself. Second question that you should ask is that the report is only valid for 1 year. Whether the report that you are given right now is actually still valid for that particular date or not. These are couple of questions that you should ask. Similarly, when you go for ISO 27001 certification also, scope you always have to check. What is the scope of the certification? Because what if the service that you are opting for is not covered in the scope? Then basically that certification is useless for you, right? So that you need to definitely check. And second thing after that is the same, the validity of the 27001 certification, because 27001 is valid for 3 years. So you can definitely check whether the validity is actually there or not. Okay, these are a couple of, high level pointers that I'm giving you. But definitely if you join the course, there is very much insider information also on this, like how to read the SOC 2 reports, how to read the ISO certification, how to read the SOA, how to read the audit reports for the organization, because all these actually combinedly help you to navigate the third party risk. Okay, so this is only at a very high level I have just given you. Okay, Chiranjeevi, just to give you understanding. Yeah.
Okay, so we will go with the next question is that top three items we need to make sure we have while implementing TPRM.
Top three items we need to make sure. Very good, Rishabh. First of all, a very good question. Top three items that we need to show. So, first of all, implementation of TPRM has to follow the life cycle approach. What I have discussed 10 minutes back. Okay, there is a proper life cycle to the third party risk. Okay, when you onboard the vendor, okay, when you do the due diligence, when you do the risk assessment, okay, all these are important items there, Rishabh. Even if one of the items you will not follow, trust me, Rishabh, it will be a catastrophe. I'm telling you from experience. Okay, so that is why not top three items, the entire life cycle approach has to be followed. Okay, don't think that it's a top three or a top five. You have to follow the entire life cycle if you really want to be secured with the third party risk. That's how it is. Okay.
I hope everyone has cleared their doubts. But I have some more questions for you. Is that like how we do we categorize vendors as a risk, high risk on or low risk?
A very good question, Prachi. How do you categorize a vendor
When
as a high risk or a low risk?
and
Oh,
or
we,
low
we,
risk, yeah.
we have Ghazal also. Hi, Ghazal.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, love. Hi, Prachi. How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
It, yeah.
Great, great. Awesome. Perfect. So I think I logged in a little bit and I saw that you guys were taking questions.
Yeah.
So that's great. I am back and thank you everybody for joining us today. And I'll be in the back end to help out and let me know if you need me on the stage. I'll be happy to join the conversation.
I think you should be on the stage, Ghazal. You can participate,
Okay.
right? Let me
Okay.
just
Sure.
Yeah,
Of
see
course.
with, yeah, this is better, right? All three of us on the screen. Yeah, this is better.
Yes.
yeah,
Perfect. Perfect,
Good,
love.
good, good. Thank you. So, yeah, Prachi, so difference between high risk and low risk vendor, right?
yeah.
Good, good, good. So, high risk vendor and low risk vendor is very simple to categorize. Okay, there are some parameters that we need to look into. For example, okay, first parameter is how business critical is this vendor support for us. Okay, for example, is the processing of that information really business critical for the organization or not? This is the first question. Okay, so you rate the vendors accordingly. If it is business critical, you rate it high. If it is not business critical, it is something that can wait for 1 week or 2 weeks, you can rate it at a lower scale. Similarly, second thing is the data. What type of data is this third party vendor dealing with? Okay, whether this data is PII, SPII, PHI, or any credit card related data. Okay, all these four categories will involve a very high risk vendor. Okay, because these are the types of data which any organization nowadays has to be very careful around. Okay, so that is why second is the type of data that this organization is dealing with. Okay, for the third party. So these are the two main categorizations what we have. Definitely there are eight more, but again, even if I discuss those eight here, it won't make sense, because unless and until we do all this on a practical scale, Prachi, this all doesn't make sense, because everybody who is attending, after 1 week they'll forget what they attended in the session. So that is why I always encourage to do a hands-on. And you asked the previous batch which we had of 50 people who attended the first batch, and they did all the hands-on these categorizations and all that. So hands-on practically doing it will actually be helpful for you in the long term. The categorization, how to categorize, when to categorize, because it isn't always obvious that you have to categorize, right? There are some instances where you have to. Now what are those instances also, right? So definitely all these things are there. But again, I would highly encourage people to participate in the training sessions. That is really helpful for their long term understanding of third party risk, because it is a new topic. Okay, because you see, not everybody is covering these topics, because these are new topics, and only somebody who has worked on the third party risk can only tell you about all this, right? So that is really important. Okay, yeah, Prachi, go ahead.
Yes. So another question I have about like what happens during the onboarding of a third party?
Okay, very good question. So during onboarding of the third party, we actually should have a due diligence process, right? Which the organization should have. So in this due diligence process, what we do is actually we have a big form what we actually give to the third party vendors to fill up. Now, what this form basically has is an assessment checklist that we use for assessing the third party. Okay, as a part of the onboarding process. So this form will have a lot of questions. Okay, for example, does the third party has business continuity in place or not? Does the third party has the relevant certifications like SOC 2, ISO 27001 or not? Is the third party financially capable enough to handle the anything wrong if it happens in the organization? Are they capable enough to handle, right? So all these things are part of the assessment questionnaire that we actually share with the third parties, right? So it's a long list. I think it's actually very long, I would say. Around 30 to 40 questions are there. So we ask these third parties to fill out these questions for us, and as soon as they fill out these questions for us, it basically helps us to understand what are the third party risks which are associated with them. Because normally if a company is not certified for ISO 27001, so that gives you sort of a alarm. Okay, because in that case, now you need to think, okay, now this company is not ISO and they are not SOC 2. Now what should I do? Okay, so these are the questions that will make you think now. Okay, so these are the things that you actually now need to discuss as a part of the onboarding process. What are the other things that you can follow? Again, all these things are very much realistic and very much hands on. So all these discussions do happen in the case studies, in the live sessions which we have. But as an onboarding process, the basic part is to have the onboarding checklist, and the checklist has to be submitted formally via an email from the third party vendor. It's very important. Okay, if the checklist is not submitted formally, somebody is only telling you on the call, okay, we do have this, we do have that. No, don't do that. This has to be a formal process as a part of the onboarding, Prachi. That is really important.
Okay. Okay. So I think we have some more questions on comments. Yeah, so there is one question has been left it of, yeah, okay, one first we will go with this. What is the standard category of my vendor based on data dealing like install, process, and save?
Standard category of my vendor
Yeah,
based on data dealing, like install, process. I'm not
and
sure
save.
on the question. Gazal, do you understand what he's trying to say?
Yeah, I am trying to figure it out. So this has been asked by a LinkedIn user. So if you could just
Yeah,
elaborate a little bit more for
exactly.
us.
Little bit more
Yeah.
reference to what exactly you are pointing to would help us, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so till that we can go with some other comment.
Yeah.
sure.
So we are waiting for people to ask questions. Prachi, you go on.
Yeah. I have one question for you is there is like I wanted to ask you some like what are questions are typically asked in vendor risk assessment in questionnaire?
1 second, Prachi. I think Deepak Chaudhary has a question. Let us answer this first, then we'll go
Okay.
on to yours.
Yeah, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Ghazal, go ahead. You want to read it?
Yeah, of course. So Deepak Chaudhary is writing from LinkedIn and he's asking if someone has to start from scratch and I have made a list to start. So CompTIA Security Plus, Network Plus, ISO 27001, Implementer and Auditor. Is this a right approach? What should I do after that? So I think he wants a roadmap from you for his
Very good.
cybersecurity
Very good
journey.
question, Deepak Chaudhary, and it's more of a career counseling question. But yes, I will take it because Deepak, your question is right, and many of the people who are attending this session definitely would have the same question in their mind. But Deepak is the one who actually stood up and asked this question, so thank you so much for that, Deepak. I appreciate it. And yes, you have made the right list. First of all, congratulations for that. But there is slightly change in the order. Okay, now I'll correct this order for you. And thank you so much again because this information will help a lot of people who's watching this right now and even after on the recording. So Ghazal, this should go out in some sort of a reel as well because this is a very
Yes,
important
yes.
question what he's
And
asking,
this is
right?
a very recurring question as well. A lot of
Exactly,
people
exactly.
are trying to
Yeah,
follow like a roadmap for themselves.
right, right, exactly. So Deepak, two things here that you need to always remember. Okay, CompShare Security Plus gives you a 360-degree understanding about the entire cyber security, whatever is there. Okay, 360-degree view. Okay, not in depth at a high level. Okay, you have information around all the technical aspects of things. You have information around all the standards, compliances. Everything is there. Types of viruses, malware, infection. Everything is there, right? In the CompShare Security Plus. Somebody who is looking for a GRC role, remember my words, GRC role. CompShare Security Plus is not for their reference for the starting point. They should go for ISO 27001 as a starting point because ISO 27001 implementation course, if done properly, will get your entire fundamentals clear around governance, risk, and compliance. And all these three angles are covered clearly in the clauses of ISO 27001. Okay, but you just need the right mentor, and if you do that, your GRC pathway is clear. But if you are not running after GRC, then if you just want to have an overall exposure towards information security, then definitely go for CompShare Security Plus, okay, as a starting point. And after CompShare Security Plus, don't go for Network Plus, okay, you go for ISO 27001. These two combinedly will give you a good understanding of the GRC aspect as well as the whole cyber security aspect of things. ISO 27001 lead auditor never do. I am telling on the screen, on the record, never do. And why I'm saying that, you need to understand. This course is really hyped in the market. Everybody is trying to say lead auditor, lead auditor, lead auditor. Are Baba, but what if I don't want to become an auditor? Okay, only if you really have that aspiration to become an auditor, you go for the lead auditor course. Only if I'm telling you. And this only if will actually categorize 10% people from the 90% people, I'm telling you. If you see most of the people, they'll not want to go for auditing as a career, right? Only 10%, 20% of the people would want. If you are that 10, 20%, definitely go for the auditor course. But if you are not, there's no point. Okay, because firstly, as an auditor, you can't go ahead and audit any organization. You can't do that. Okay, as a consultant also, it's not possible until and unless you're backed by a certification body. Okay, which you have to represent when you go there, right? So that is not possible otherwise. But as a consultant, even in your free time, okay, you can go and implement ISO 27001 in any organization. Okay, so it's a big difference between these two. Okay, so for your long term career as a cybersecurity consultant, always go towards the implementation courses. This will be helping you across your career. I'm giving you a very big tip. Okay, and then if you really want to have a complete understanding of again cybersecurity, you go for after CompTIA and ISO, then you go for CISSP. Okay, now why CISSP immediately after that? Okay, because CISSP again will give you a whole holistic understanding about the cybersecurity, posture and cybersecurity framework. Doing it earlier would be really helpful in your career rather than doing it later on, because people who have done it initially in the first 5 years of their career have been really successful, right, Ghazal? We have seen that happening. So that will be really add
Absolutely.
on to your trajectory, right, Ghazal? We have
Right.
seen that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly correct. And you've explained it very well as well. So if you want to go into the cybersecurity side, get like a bird's eye view, then go for Security Plus, CompTIA Security Plus. But if you want to get into governance, risk management, compliance, then as Love rightly mentioned, ISO 27001 would be the perfect lead implementer specifically, would be the perfect way to go about it. Right. And this is, again, as I said, very recurring, and a lot of people in conversations with them, they're always confused, like, what should I start with? So thanks, Love, for the stamp of approval on what we have been
Yeah.
telling
No,
people.
no. Deepak has asked a very good question. Actually, many people have this question in their mind. Thank you, Deepak.
Yeah.
So again, now the question is to you, Deepak, whether you want to go into GRC in the next 10 years. Like, how do you see your career going towards? If you want to go with GRC, definitely ISO 27001 is your first starting point. If you want to go and become a cybersecurity analyst and cybersecurity manager and go in the technical, sort of things, then go with CompTIA Security Plus, CEH you can do after that and all that, because these are highly technical courses that you can do. Okay. So I think the questions, a lot of questions first of all today.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys, for asking questions. I think this is a Prachi. I think this is a 15 or 16 questions, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, very good. So Ghazal, what is he saying now?
Perfect. Yes, so I think this is the same follow up by the previous question poser. So they've given some clarity basically. So my point is how we categorize a vendor, like my vendor is processing, transmitting, and saving information on their own location. So I think it's more to do with data. That how do we categorize like which vendor gets to save and transmit or something like that? How are they dealing
So
with data?
so basically, transmitting the data, processing the data at their location is of lesser importance if you compare it with the type of data again, right? So if the type of data is basically adding pages to your printer every day as a consumable item, you don't have to worry about that, right? But if that particular type of data is your employee information for their payroll and salary processing, definitely it's a concern, right? So now you need to think about what type of data is this vendor processing, transmitting, and saving. That is important, right? The type of data will decide the criticality. If it is, again, I'll tell you the four categories. Very simple. If it is PII, if it is SPII, if it is PHI, or if it is a credit card information. These four categories you need to be very careful about, because right now a lot of compliances are there for these four categories. A lot of regulations are there for these four categories. So if these four categories are there with this vendor, what you have, definitely you need to rank it higher. Okay, that is the only thing.
Right. So Nitin is writing from LinkedIn. Right. So Nitin is asking, are there categorization of vendors done? For example, if we take SOC vendor, then they are then they are certainly critical vendors, but organizations also onboard or work with corporate gifting company or event companies who may need PII data of employees. So they need, I think Nitin is looking for clarity on this.
First
So how
of
do you
all,
categorize vendors?
First of all, very good question, Nitin. Again, because now when DPDP is on the verge, on the horizon, definitely this question would help a lot of people who are watching this. So thank you so much. So Nitin has a very good thought. You see his thought process. So Nitin is saying that when we launch these events and all that, we basically have to give out some PI of our employees, right? Because even if we need to send them gifts and all, we need to give their locations, addresses and all that, right, to some third party vendors. So having these vendors actually are critical or not for the organization. Definitely the data involved here, Nitin, as you see, I have already covered four types of data, right? And you yourself are saying that PI is involved. So whenever you see PI involved, you have to be careful. Immediately, you have to just take a pause there. You have to stop there and think. Whether this PI is handled properly or not. Because now in India also you see a lot of compliances coming on the PI side. So as an organization, definitely we need to watch out about these things. Even I would say the courier vendor which you have, who is actually delivering the parcel to your employees, also is of importance now, because this guy knows where these people live, what is their location, what is their phone number. He has access to all your employee data, right? So again, Nitin, a very good question, and this thing will now be asked more and more in terms of the upcoming DPDP Act, which is on the horizon. But yeah, definitely a good question.
Right. So
So
Chiranjeevi is in
Chiranjeevi
agreement.
is
Mhm.
happy now, and he wants to go for the course. So maybe Ghazal, you can help her. You can help him. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We'll be coming out with another one of Mr. Johar's ISO 27001 LI lead implementer batches very soon. So stay tuned, and we'll be flashing our numbers on the screen by the time we're reaching the end of the webinar. So stay tuned, and you can reach out to us. Prachi would be there to assist you throughout your journey with us.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have just lost one, like we have just missed one comment, which is from Sharad Gaddam. So he wanted to ask you about like, do due diligence will be done before onboarding or after onboarding in organizational perspective, and how it goes as input to risk assessment. Please elaborate how theory and practical approach differs.
Okay, we'll come to that, Prachi. But first, Ghazal, I think we should give the phone numbers out because somebody wants to enroll, so they should know where to go, right? So
Right,
maybe
Yes.
right.
add it in the comments. I think that is important.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So till the
Good.
time you can answer this question, I'll just
Yeah.
input the
Yeah.
details and flash it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the screen.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. So, due diligence will be done before onboarding or after onboarding? Oh, good question. Very good question, Sharath. Again, you have your thought process clear. Only then you are asking this question, Sharath. Because if somebody who is a newbie, this question is always coming from somebody very experienced in the domain. So, thank you so much for asking this good question. And how does it goes as an input to the risk assessment? Please elaborate how the theory and practical approach offers. So, basically, in practical, first of all, okay, whatever we are discussing in this session, there are very many questions which are there, right? Many people have their doubts. So difference between practical and theory is that in the sessions what we conduct, there is no slides what we have. Okay, so any session if you attend from my side, I never work on slides. That is my first and foremost thing. You will never see me on the slides. It's a hardly one or two slide I will just walk you through, and that's it. Okay, in the entire 40 to 50 hour session, trust me guys, there is no slides. Okay, I hate slides myself, so that's the first thing. Okay, because I sleep after I see the slides. Okay, that is with me. So we basically now what we do actually in those 40 for 50 hours is that we have different scenarios, we have different organizations, we have different environments. So 4 to 5 environments we have. From a healthcare sector we have one, from a transportation sector we have one, from a travel sector we have one, from a hospitality sector we have one, from a manufacturing industry we have one sector. So similarly we have 5 different case studies from each of the sectors. So what we do, we actually perform all this due diligence, we perform all this risk assessment, we perform this actually live, hands on these particular case studies, and then we understand whether the approach that we are following as a third party risk analyst or a third party risk manager, whether the approach is correct or not. Okay, that is what we do in the sessions. So just to answer on the second part, so the first part, coming back to the first part now, the due diligence will be done before onboarding or after onboarding. Due diligence has to be done before onboarding, because if the if the thief is already in the house, there's hardly something you can do, right? But Sharat, so it has to be done, proactively beforehand, okay, before onboarding the vendor. And definitely, if you find issues in the due diligence process, you have to raise alarms with the senior management, or you can simply discard the vendors. Okay, it should not go as an input to the risk assessment, because you should not proceed with a vendor who is not clear with your due diligence part, right? For example, I'll give you a scenario. Okay, so let's say you want to hire a vendor, and this vendor fills out your form saying that he doesn't have ISO 27001, he doesn't have any last audit report to show you, he doesn't have any security policy, he doesn't have any business continuity plan, he doesn't have any what should I say, access controls in place, he doesn't have any proper location from which he can support you. So Ghazal, do you think in this case would you go with this vendor?
Of course not. It will be a very big risk.
Exactly. So this is not an input to the risk register. It's basically you have to discard this vendor. That's how, right? Because that
Immediate
is why you,
rejection.
yeah, exactly. That is why you're doing this risk assessment, the due diligence, right? Because this due diligence is helping you to understand whether this vendor is a fit for your organization or not, right? That is really important. Okay, I
Right,
hope that clears
absolutely.
your doubt. Yeah, Sharath.
Yeah. So I am flashing the numbers on the screen.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I was also clicking Ghazal. Yeah, now.
Okay, okay, right. So, anybody who's looking to join Mr. Love Jawhar's upcoming trainings, the TPRM training is starting really soon at the end of this month. And we have his ISO 27001 lead implementer training also upcoming. And please,
Flagship
please
course.
reach
There's a
out to us.
flagship course, by the way.
That's a flagship course, and it is a dual certification, and also TPRM training, the professional training that Mr. Love Jawhar is undertaking. So these are again completely practical, hands-on, and flagship courses developed by him, and they have helped and supported multiple learners at this
Yesterday
point.
also somebody got a couple of jobs, right? Ghazal, we threw it in the
Yes,
group
yes,
also.
yes. I think there was a buzz in the group regarding the same. So they're
Yeah,
getting job offers based on the training and their performance. So definitely reach out to Protect Academy and reach out at the earliest, because his batches book up really, really quickly and in months in advance. So you don't want to miss out. And we still have a chance. We still have about 3 to 4 seats left for the TPRM training. So as I said, the first batch went so well that now there is a rush, and we already booked up like a month in advance.
right,
So
right, right,
you can reach out to us on the number flashing on the screen, and
right,
we'll align you with our counselor, and she'll be helping you out in setting up and getting started on your third party risk management journey or your ISO 27001 lead implementer certification journey. So
right, right.
Prachi, would you
Thank
like
you.
to add
Yes.
something? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much, Love Sir, to giving the very helpful session and very insight valuable session. And we are like, I'm very happy, like people are moreover asking more questions, and we are very we are very helpful that your session. And I'm truly appreciate for the people who has joined us. And if you are looking for something interesting into the TPRM, so definitely we are here to help you. So you can just get in touch with us, like the number is flashing out there. So thank you so much, everyone, to join our session.
Yeah. So before we conclude, only one thing which I always say in all the sessions, guys,
Yeah.
you can go to any trainings. It doesn't matter which training you are attending and which who is the trainer. But one humble request: you should ask questions in the trainings, right? Ask multiple questions, ask thousands of questions, right? And second thing is that you need to clarify your doubts. I have seen people who have done lead implementers, lead auditor 4 years back, 5 years back, and still they're not clear about many things. Okay, so don't do that. When you join any courses, feel free to ask the instructor multiple questions. And you see my sessions, right? We don't progress until the 30 or 40 people who are in the batch are absolutely clear on the concepts. We don't proceed. Be that topic take 1 day, be that topic take 2 days also. We don't teach as per the clock, guys. So you need to understand that we need to make sure that whoever is attending the sessions, their doubts are cleared. That's really important. Okay. And second thing is that you need to go for practical trainings always, because nowadays this is not about theory. Okay. Until and unless you will perform these third party risk assessments yourself, trust me, nobody can help you. Okay. It's really important, because at the end of the day, when you will get the job, gone are the days when the companies used to give trainings, right? Now they want you productive from the day one. And in order to do that, these are the courses which you need. Okay. And you're lucky enough that we are having these platforms where you're actually able to access these courses nowadays at a very reasonable cost as well, right, Gazal? The cost is also affordable. So definitely
Very
get the best
affordable.
out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
That's the
as
only
Love
thing.
mentioned, he
Yeah.
does not teach by the clock. He teaches by discussions and a
Yeah.
lot of interaction during the session. So,
Right.
as a
Yes.
learner, you'll be doing everything end to end. So, when you're on the job, you automatically become an asset to the company because they don't have to invest so much time in training you and teaching you because you've already done that, been there, done that yourself.
That is the reason why most of the people are getting jobs after these courses. You know why? Because most of the questions of the interview are already answered in the discussions which we have, right? So
Right.
that's why when the interviewer asks those questions, you're already prepared, but you don't know it, right? Because you already had a part of the discussion, right? But you are able to answer it. That is the beauty.
Right, absolutely. And we have HRs reaching out to Protect now and literally quoting Love Jawhar's ISO 27001 training, saying that every learner that comes from Protect Academy, how do they already know everything that there is to
Right.
know? And they
Right.
already possess the skills that are needed on the job. So you'll be in the most competent hands. So anybody looking to join, get started, are feeling nervous, don't be, just reach out, take the step, and we'll handle everything else for you.
Right.
Yes, right.
That's it then.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Love, for again taking out the time and joining us today. Sorry,
I think
I
your
was
phones have
getting.
already started ringing.
Yes, my phones have already started ringing.
I know it happens
Perfect,
after these
perfect.
sessions. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, quickly to wrap it up, thank you so much, Love. I think we have a last question, so we can take that.
Yes.
So, Sunny is asking from LinkedIn, and he's asking, will it be a good idea to do C-risk for an individual who already has CISSP and planning to do more in risk management?
Definitely a very good idea, Sunny. Very good idea. Highly recommend that. Definitely. If you want to go into the risk management side, either you do go for a hands-on course like third-party risk management, what we have, and if you go through that course, somebody mentioned in my last batch that love whatever you are teaching, half of it is already there in the C risk. So I think once you're done with this course, your series syllabus will be covered by half. So that is the beauty of this course, because somebody did mention that in the last batch, right? So that is there, and definitely series is a very good approach what you have. It's a recognized certification, it has value in the market. Definitely go for it. The only disadvantage of series is that again it is theory. Okay, like CISSP, CISM, CISA, all are theoretical courses. Okay, there is no practical hands-on thing there. So that is why if you go for TPRM initially, this will help you to understand the series in a better manner. That's the only thing which I can add. Okay.
Sounds great. Okay, so he's also asking, also, do you cover NIST in your trainings?
NIST right now we are not covering, but at a high level, definitely. If you have any questions for NIST, we are happy to answer. At a high level, Sunny, any questions if my students ask, be it SOX, NIST, Sarbanes Oxley, we never say no. Okay, because you are part of the sessions, right? Definitely, any courses, any questions that you have, you can ask. But as of now, NIST specifically, we are not covering. Okay.
Great. So, Sudeepta has just joined the course today. So, she's really
Yes.
looking forward to the TPRM training. Yeah,
Yeah.
Prachi?
Thank you,
Yes,
Sudipta.
right.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for asking your question. And thank you so much once again, Love, for taking this session and literally illuminating everybody on these concepts. And I have already started getting messages and calls for your TPRM training. So let's quickly wrap up so that we can help more learners get started.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, perfect, perfect. And we'll see you all in the next session. We'll be having another one with Mr. Johar really, really soon. And till then, stay tuned and feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you out at Protect Academy. Thank you,
Thank you,
love.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.